And I started really just using some common sense with some of this stuff and realizing that this is not the way anybody should have to live their life.
How's it going, guys? I'm Steve. I'm here with a different kind of video today. We'll be doing an interview. I'm going to introduce our special guest, Connie. She is a psychic medium. And tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Do you want me to remove him? Yeah. Shoot him, kill him? No.
Bad dog. Bad. Damn it! And who got candy cane all over the couch?
Put him in the bathroom? No. Because that's going to affect it. No, that's enough.
So yeah, just kind of tell us a little bit about your life story, like where you were born.
Oh yes, certainly. I was born in Sarnia, Ontario, a long time ago, 1949. Baby boomer to the core. When I was little, I had an imaginary playmate, and a lot of people do when they're tiny. They have these imaginary playmates.
Sure.
And my imaginary playmate was named String Joe. And my parents told me about it because I really don't remember String Joe. But I would make food for String Joe, and I would tell people you can't sit there because String Joe was sitting there. And I found out later on that kids who have imaginary playmates are very often dealing with someone in spirit at that time. They're like spirit guides that are helping kids get through their early years. I think there was a movie with Robert Downey Jr. years ago where there were 7 spirit guides that walk like a man. That was the name of the movie. Walk Like a Man. Robert Downey Jr. It's an oldie but goodie. Then after that, in my teenage years, I did all the United Church things. I was an explorer. I was in CGIT. I was boy crazy, just the way every normal teenager would have been in that time. And it wasn't until I got to university that I always thought it was different, didn't quite fit in anywhere.
Yeah.
And at university, at Western Ontario, which is how I got to London,
Okay.
I went to a party, and I went back as a mature student. So I was like 21, and these kids were all 18. So any parties I went to with my roommates were really boring. And one day I just thought, I'm going to read some poems. And I started reading poems, and I have no knowledge of what the lines mean.
Yeah.
But I looked at the poem, and I held the hand, and I felt the energy coming from that person into my head. So I was able to tell them about their lifestyle, about their career, about their sensitivities, and I was pretty good at it. I was 22 when I started doing that.
Okay.
And then I got into a born-again Christian thing because my mother passed away when I was 24. And did the whole Bible class and read the Bible back to front, and the Good News Bible, and that's King James version of the Bible. So I really thought I was really into this Christianity. But my life didn't go the way I thought it should be going with the God that the Bible tells us about. And I got into Wicca, or did a lot of research into witchcraft and Wicca. Bought a lot of books, Scott Cunningham, some of the other ones naturally because you're allergic. No, go away.
They all love me here.
I was into Wicca, and I really started realizing that the God of my father was not my God.
Okay.
And I thought the ancient ways have to be revised. And I went through a guided meditation one night at a friend's house. Friend from like 38 years earlier. And we got back in contact, and I went to her house, and she did a guided meditation. She worked for the Archdiocese here in London, so she was like a serious Catholic.
Yeah.
And she said, we're going on a meditation to find your monk. And I said, oh, is that like a spirit guide? She said, no, it's your monk. Okay. So that was when, after that meditation, through that meditation, I realized I had to learn more about the ancient ways. Because in my heart, organized religion was stifling and keeping low a lot of people in the world.
Yeah.
Because they're just never getting the insight.
Yeah.
I spent 5 weeks in Greece, which you understand.
Yeah.
That was later in my life. The Greek church would tell the women, and in the Greek villages, women didn't work. They were the housewives, right?
Yep.
So in the village of Anavra, the Greek women would be told by their priests, you can't eat meat for 2 weeks. And they would do it. They would literally make meat for the men, for the kids in the house, but the women wouldn't eat meat. Now, I don't know if it's just because I'm tenacious and had a bit of an education, but I thought this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, that somebody would tell somebody not to eat meat.
Yeah.
They used to tell the Catholics you couldn't eat meat on Friday, so they all ate fish. And I started really just using some common sense with some of this stuff and realizing that this is not the way anybody should have to live their life.
Yeah.
I think COVID has taught us that there's a lot more ignorant people in the world than we thought.
That's it.
I didn't want to use the stupid word, because they're not stupid. They're just not learned.
Misinformed.
Yes, misinformed and too uneducated to formulate a way of thinking around that. They're just dull. So after a while with this Wicca, I had a couple of goddess parties. They were fun because I thought women really needed to get in touch with the ancient ways, the goddesses, the Aphrodites, the Isis, I shouldn't say Isis, should I? Because that's like but there was a goddess named Isis. Not the Iranian militant group, but I wanted...
Egyptian god, right? Egyptian god?
Sorry?
Isis?
She was an Egyptian goddess,
Okay,
yes. There were Celtic gods. Coventina was the goddess of the rivers and lakes in Great Britain. So my research led me to think, okay, let's have a dress-up goddess party. And the women had a great deal. The first one, I had 21 women here, ranging in age from 19 to 61. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So along about that time, I found out about the London Spiritualist Church. And I went. And the first time I went with my neighbor, we couldn't find it. So, and we were a little nervous about going there, right?
Yeah.
But we finally found it because it's on Rector Street, which is not one of the greatest parts of town.
Mm-hmm.
And it was held in the Oddfellows Hall, which apparently is a really old group. I didn't really learn too much about it, but when we walked in, they had these huge ornate chairs carved, and they had white like protectors on them. And the speaker was Reverend Lynn Welsh, and she talked about Jesus being the master teacher, as was Buddha, as was Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that had a major impact on what was happening in the day, their teachers. So, and I could resonate with that. I could understand that. And then she gave some messages that I thought were I was just in shock, in absolute shock. And she read the 7 principles. I think I've got those around here somewhere too. But they believe in the fatherhood of God, the brotherhood of man, communion with spirit, and the ministry of angels. Personal responsibility, so nobody's going to grant you absolution if you do things that aren't necessarily good. Let me think about some of the other ones. Oh, eternal progress open to every soul. Did I miss one? I think I'm missing one. But it was very low key, and at that time, the people who ran the church didn't want to get involved with the National Spiritualist Church of Canada. And I could understand why, because this was very folksy. It was just people coming in, and I started taking classes. I started walking down the street at lunchtime. I worked downtown, and I would send my energy to somebody else who was walking by. And I would think, okay, that person is worried about somebody who's in the hospital. And I was coming up with, like, imagining how their energies were.
Yeah.
And the first class I took, it was huge. And I sat across from a young man who had come from Woodstock, I think. We were supposed to meditate. I'm a Sagittarian. So we sat there, and I'm thinking, okay, what am I supposed to feel? What am I supposed to do? And I'm looking around this big group, and so afterwards, I was getting a sore rear end, and I was trying to breathe, and I was just bored, right?
Yeah.
So, but while I was looking around at people, I honed in on this young man from Woodstock. So after the meditation was over, she said, is there anybody that has any messages for anyone? And I put my hand up. And she said, you weren't even meditating. I said, I know, I can't have difficulty meditating. I said, but I think I have a message for this young man across the way from me. I said, do you have a brother in spirit? Now this guy was maybe 30. And I'm thinking, this is your imagination, do you have a brother in spirit? He said, yes, I do. So right there, my heart started pounding, and I thought, oh my goodness. I said, well, he's coming to me, and he's telling me that you're not using appropriate safety equipment. Now, I don't know if it's on the job or in a game, a sport that you play, but he's definitely telling me that you're not using the right safety equipment, and he wants you to start using the right stuff.
Yeah.
So everybody was in shock and awe when I said that, but I was so ticked off that I didn't go back the next week. But apparently the young man was there and said he was on his way home, and it occurred to him he wasn't wearing a seatbelt because he was from the East Coast and it wasn't legal. You didn't have to wear a seatbelt then. So, and he had the aha moment. That's what his brother was trying to say. You have to use a seatbelt. So he told everybody else in the class, and I missed it. But from then I realized that I could actually do this work. So I did a lot of studies through the church. I've been to, they bring some of the tutors from, watch me forget the name of this college now. There's a big college in Great Britain just for psychic mediums and so on. So I've had trance mediumship, I've had healing mediumship, I've done a lot of work, and I'm pretty good, but I don't like the idea of making money on it.
Yeah.
And the longer I'm in this, and people would say to me, well, then it just devalues what you do. Well, if I have a gift and I can say something that's going to make somebody feel connected to somebody that they've lost, or then I'm not going to charge. And then they kicked me out. Well, they said that I should resign. I was the president of the Spiritualist Church. We brought in the woman who the TV show The Medium was based on, Alison Dubois. And that was a nightmare, a political nightmare, because I worked for the federal government, and I said, have we contacted immigration? Because we don't want to get in trouble for bringing somebody in. They thought that was just terrible that I was bringing this legal stuff up.
Yeah.
So I finally quit, and I said, look, I can't deal with this group of people. And it was years later that I went back. I still kept my hand in. If I'm in a store and I connect with somebody, I'll read their palms.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't often, because I don't want to charge for it.
Yeah.
People think because I don't charge for it, I'm not worth it. Since then, I've been scrolling through Facebook, and I see all this stuff about, oh, you have ADD, ADHD? Take the quiz and pay this money and we will fix it. Or it's just all this self-help crap that everybody wants to make money on. And I thought that's exactly what these mediums are doing.
Yeah.
They want the money.